stuff for you to see. I'm Jason Green. I'm a program manager with Power Apps Core with the Power Apps team. This is Reza.
Hello everyone, Reza Dorani, nice to meet you all. Thank you for coming.
And I'm Rasika Chaudhary. I'm also from the CAT team.
Yeah, so they're going to be doing a demo for you in a little bit. But before we dive into Gen Pages exactly, let me just step back in case you haven't been to some of the other sessions. I'm assuming you've maybe seen a demo of Gen Pages this conference, but let me just step back just to make sure we're all on the same page. So you've been seeing for the last year that this AI transformation is here. And so at the pace of improvements and capabilities over the last year, and especially all the things that have been announced at this conference, we are in this place, right? We're using AI to make our tasks easier and faster, to run our business processes more efficiently, and to serve our customers better. And so, as Charles mentioned on the very first day in the keynote, every organization needs to have a plan to be infusing AI so they can continue to grow, thrive, and stay competitive in the market. And so what we want to look at today is, where do you start to get the fastest impact with AI? And so the fastest way to add AI value, we believe, is through your existing apps. So you've already invested a lot of time. We're going to talk today in terms of model-driven apps. You put a lot of time and effort into these. Your users are already used to using these apps. Your data, your business processes, your security permissions are already configured. So there's all these things. You've already deployed them, done training. You're supporting these apps. So this is where we want you to stay to do your first step in getting AI into your system. And it's really easy to do that with model-driven apps, right? We have all these in-app agents that we've already pre-provided for you in the application that you just have to enable. I'm not going to spend time today going through all of those, data entry and all these other ones, but just to mention that it is easy to get those things into the hands of your users immediately. What we want to talk about today, though, is a new capability that was recently released in model-driven apps that is a benefit for both makers and users, and that's Generative Pages. And so what is Generative Pages? So this is a natural language way to augment or supplement a model-driven app. So it's a new vibe coding experience where you as a maker are going to input natural language into the system to describe what kind of page you want to build. This can be visually what it looks like. This can be functionally how it's going to work. So you pass that into the agent. It's going to reason over what you asked for, generate some React code, and output a page for you. And it's really as quick and simple as that. And there's three big benefits that we want to look at. We're going to touch on them now, and then you'll see these over and over again as we walk through the rest of the session. Imagination. So you can really build whatever you want with Generative Pages. We're going to go through a bunch of examples over the course of this session and try to get your creative juices flowing. There's lots of variety of what you can build, and I want you to be thinking about, as we go through these, what kinds of things might make sense for your organization, your personal interest, whatever, that you'd want to build with Generative Pages. You're not bound by any page templates, any rigid page layouts. You can really do what you want. The second thing is speed. So your development cycle is going to speed up significantly with Generative Pages. It's no longer you're going to take days, weeks, months to develop a page. You're going to be able to go from idea, prompt, to a working page within a matter of minutes. It may take you some hours, a little bit longer when you do those fine-tuned iterations and you're polishing, but you can really get to something workable very quickly, and we're going to do that in just a minute. It was kind of funny. Yesterday, I was in the conference, and I got a message from somebody here who's probably in the audience somewhere that wanted to ask me a question about Gen Pages. He had just saw a demo in the conference, picked it up and started using it, and within 2 hours, he'd already recreated a Power BI report in this model-driven app, complete with filters, visualizations, and he was just so happy. He was like, this is so cool. And so that's what we want as the goal for this session for everyone, when you come out of this, to have the tools to be able to go and do the same thing for yourselves. And so the third one is flexibility. So it doesn't matter what your skill level is, whether you're no code, low code, all the way up to pro code, you can do these vibe coding tools. It's a natural language interface, so anyone can type in what they want to get. So that's open to everybody. If you are more pro code and you like to dig into the weeds of the code, that's available for you here as well. And so with that, let's go ahead and jump in. So we're going to start. I'm going to try to actually stay out of slides for a good portion of the rest of this. We're going to try to be in demo, in product. There are some screens and things at the end. But we're going to start out with a customer-inspired demo. So originally I was going to have James Connolly from Network Rail here with me. He wasn't able to make it, but he did send a video to introduce this section for us. So let's take a listen. Maybe we're having some technical issues here. Oh, there we go. Oh.
Seconds, 30 seconds.
To produce some gen pages for you all with a solution that I created for Network Rail using plans and Power Apps. Hi everyone, I'm James Connolly, Head of Power Platform at Network Rail in England. Firstly, I'm very jealous of you all being at PPCC. I'm here in not so sunny Milton Keynes. I hope you've had a great conference so far. Before Jason starts to produce some gen pages for you all, with a solution that I created for Network Rail using plans and Power Apps, I just wanted to introduce Network Rail as an organisation. So who are we? We provide the rail infrastructure in England, Scotland and Wales. We aim to provide a safe and reliable railway for our passengers and colleagues, which is imperative. We're massive Power Apps users, and we have over 16,000 monthly active users and over 10,200 Power Apps. Generative Pages for me is one of my favourite features, and a feature that we started to use with customers in our customer workshops, helping to shape user interfaces and user experiences in minutes, rather than weeks, if not longer. So I'm going to hand over to Jason now, and Jason's going to produce some really cool Generative Pages in minutes in front of you. Thanks again, and I hope you have a great conference.
All right. So that kind of sets the stage. So we're in this network, or this railway incidents scenario. I'm going to switch over. And I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm taking, like he said, I'm taking his plan, so his tables, his data schema, some of his sample data, and we're going to build not actually a super complicated page. And it's very intentional why we want to do that. So across the conference, you've seen very polished, very complex pages that have, I don't know if anyone was at Leon's session on Tuesday, super long, complex prompt. That's going to be really hard for maybe a beginner or someone that's just getting used to the feature to get traction on building things like that. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to build a somewhat simpler page, but a very polished page, and give you the tools you need to be able to follow this kind of step-by-step process to be able to replicate this in your own scenarios. And so once we do that, we're going to start with something simple, then we're going to have some more demos of some more complex stuff, and then we'll show you a lot more, a variety of even more complex pages after that. So let's go ahead and get started. Perfect. So we're in our model-driven app. This is our Incident Management Central. And so what I'm going to do, you'll recognize this, we have our views and our forms, is the first thing we're going to do is just add a page. And so I just want to stop here just for a second, because the layout of this file is actually really important towards the future of model-driven apps. You'll notice which two icons are the big important ones at the top, and the things that are more legacy towards the bottom. So this is the future of what we see for model-driven apps. You have your Dataverse tables, so your views and your forms. We think these are going to be important. This is where all of those in-app agents that we talked about before, or that we mentioned, the data entry agent, data exploration, row summaries, all of that intelligence is already built into these pages, and we expect you, or we hope that you'll keep using those in your applications. The other one, describe a page, is what we're going to do today. So that's generative pages. And we think that this is the path that you should be creating all of your other experiences from here on out. The other experiences are still there if you want to use them, if you're used to them. But we want to push people towards this new, faster delivery cycle with more flexibility in what you can build. And so that's what we're going to do. So we're going to come in here, we're going to do describe a page. This is going to open the Generative Page Designer, which usually does not take this long. There we go. And so this is going to look kind of similar if you've seen the Plan Designer, the entry point. So you've got your main text box to put your prompt. If you're new to this and you want some ideas on what to get started, we have some sample pills up here that go over the out-of-the-box entities, so you can use those as like a first attempt. You have a model selector here. I'm going to go ahead and switch to 5, which is the default. And then you also have this button down here, which has a few things that you can do to kind of connect your page. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to add a table. So this is a Dataverse table, so you can only connect Dataverse tables at this point. When you open this up, by default, you're going to see all of the entities that are in your application. And we're just going to select incidents. If you want to add another one, you can go back through that menu, or you can type /, it will get you to the same point. You're not just limited to the tables that are in the application though. Once you start typing a few letters, like let's say contact, you can get to any table in your environment if you want to pull those in. So it's just kind of an easier way to get to the tables that are in your application. So we're going to add one more here, incident attachment. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and paste in a prompt, and we'll walk through what this looks like. So what we're going to do is we're going to build a page showing railway incidents, and I'm going to give it an image to kind of guide what I want this page to look like. And so we'll go ahead and do that now. So if we click Add Data, we do Attach Image. I have this page. Oops. We'll look at the image in a second. So basically it's a title, subtitle, there's hero content across the top, and then a grid at the bottom. So it's kind of more of a typical Fluent type page. And so what I'm also doing is I'm describing what that page looks like. So the content header has that title and the subtitle. It has two sections. This section 1 has the cards that are the hero content, and section 2 has a toolbar and data grid. So there's a few other little things about buttons, making sure my styles are aligning to the image. And I'm actually telling it right now not to actually connect to that table. And the reason why I want to do this here is that the first thing that we want to do is to get really good polished pages is we want to make sure we're setting our foundation correctly. We want to make sure that we get the page layout, the structure exactly right, because it's much harder to change that after you start getting more pieces in. So that's the place we want to start, is to get that structure in. So we're going to go ahead and kick this off. And so you can see the picture there of kind of what that image looked like. And so what's going to happen is all of that stuff gets passed to the agent. It's going to go through a series of steps to try to process what you want. So it's going to summarize your requirements. It's going to go through a list of assumptions of things that you may have left out that it wants to make sure it got right. It's going to go through planning on which components it should use, what its styling should be, how it should handle scrolling, how it should do accessibility, variety of things. And once that finishes, you probably saw it started generating code on the side in that code pane. So that's the next stage. And then we've already flipped through. It was pretty quick. GPT-5 is pretty fast. It's going through a compilation phase and then a rendering phase where we're going to actually see the final results of this iteration. And this should not take too much longer. There we go. So that doesn't look too bad, right? So that's pretty close to the image that we had. It has the right structure. We have those kind of cards in place. And so now, like I said, we're going to get that, we got that foundation in place. Now we're going to start replacing things with individual components. We're going to start making small targeted changes to fill in this page to what we actually want. And so we're going to go with our next one. So, I will say before I start, if you do want to add more tables at this point, you'll notice here there's not an add table option anymore, but you still can press the / and add things along the way. So you're not blocked by that. But let's go ahead and add our second prompt. And so we'll kind of walk through this real quick. So basically what it's saying is I'm going to rename that first section, and I'm going to tell it to replace all the placeholder data. It came up with sample data for me. I want to replace it with stuff from the actual table and pull in the actual image. And then on the second section, I want to put all the minor incidents. So we're going to put the really important bad incidents at the top in these big cards, and we're going to put everything else below. And it's also, I want to make sure that these cards, it gave me this style. I'm going to give it another image just to reinforce what I want that to look like. So I'm going to browse again. I'm going to pick up this card visual. And you can see that this is kind of the style. I want to make sure it stays to this modern style. So we're going to kick this off again. And so while that's going, it's going to go through the same exact set of steps that we saw before. We'll just take this time to kind of talk about a few other things related to the system so we're not wasting time. So data connections, we talked about Dataverse tables. You can connect up to 6 Dataverse tables for any one page. So that's kind of the current constraint for pages. We don't allow you to connect to connectors at this time. That's something that we are thinking about for the future. However, virtual tables do work. So if you want to connect to SharePoint, if you want to connect to F&O data, you can do that through a virtual table. One other constraint, prompt length. You have a character limit of 50,000 characters, so you can write a lot in these prompts before you're going to get held up. There we go. That is looking a little bit better. I don't really like that the images aren't all aligned. That has not happened in any of my test runs, but but it's the LLM, right? It's non-deterministic. Sometimes you get a little bit of variation. But this is good. It's actually pulled major incidents from my database. It's pulled the images from the related table in. It's picked fields that it wants. We also have scroll bar, and it's pulled in everything else, all these minor incidents from the table. So we're getting a lot closer now. Let's do one more, just to kind of fill in. The See Details button doesn't really do anything. So I'm going to do one more prompt to fill that in. So I'm going to update the page so that when that button's selected, it's going to open a modal, and it's going to show me a bunch of information about the incident. And I even said if there's multiple images, make it a carousel. So you can like flip through the images. So we'll kick that off. Again, we'll keep talking about other things while this goes off. These iterations are pretty fast. I don't know if you've noticed. GPT-5, you're looking at 30 to 40 seconds per iteration. So you can do a lot of these in quite a bit, in not very much time. And think about how long it would have taken you if you were using Canvas apps or if you were writing this code from scratch just to get to this point. And we've done this in a couple of minutes. If I wasn't talking to you, it probably would have taken me 3 minutes to get to this point. So that's pretty impressive already. A few other things. Co-authoring, not supported yet. So we want to make sure that you're using one maker at a time on an individual page. You can try it, but if you're both talking to the agent and overwriting each other on code, your results may vary. So I would recommend staying away from that. The feature is also only in the US right now. I know for people that have traveled else from afar that that's not ideal, but That is the current situation. We're going to work on extending it to other regions, but that is the current situation. Okay, so we have our page came back again. It didn't fix my images. Sometimes it will fix things like that just randomly. Let's click on see details and see what happens. Yeah, we get this nice little pop-up. I don't really like this formatting, but that's something I can target in another iteration, right? Keep correcting this, keep getting closer and closer to what I want. And so look at that, 3 prompts, and we have actually a pretty nice polished page. There's still some things we could tweak, but we got pretty far actually with just a little bit. I have one more prompt, just for something fun. We have Halloween tomorrow. So let's just do, let's make the page look spooky for Halloween and see what happens. I did switch to GPT-4.1 for this one just because I know that it is a little bit more creative in how it handles this prompt, but we're gonna let that run. Let's see, what else do we have for constraints? You saw 1 image per iteration, so we attach an image in a couple different places. That's another one we're gonna look at improving, where you can attach more than 1 image. What else? So what controls do we use for Gen Pages? So right now, you have a set of Fluent components. So we're using the Microsoft controls. You also have the D3 library, if you're aware of that. So that is a very large set of visualizations. So lots of different chart types, maps. So all of those are at your disposal. The model is, okay. Again, LLM, live demo, you never know what's gonna happen. We're gonna undo and we're gonna try that one more time. But what I was saying, the model is not super well trained on all the D3 visualizations, but you can still use them. You just have to say what you want and give it a shot. And I will show you an example later of a few of those. Make the page look spooky for Halloween. We'll give it one more shot. I do have a backup one to show you what it did regardless. But yeah, 30 more seconds is okay. Oh, when this finishes, I do need to show you other things. What else? This generative page is in a model-driven app, right? So the system prompt is pretty opinionated, so by default, it wants it to look like a model-driven app. So a lot of the default styling that it's going to try to put in place, the font sizes, the shadows around the containers, all of it's going to try to match model theming. And it will actually use the existing theme in the model app. So if you're using modern themes and you've made your app orange or green, by default, it's going to pick that up when you run it in the app and actually switch the controls over to use that. There we go. Look at it. It added these pumpkin icons. It even changed, I love this, it even changed the description. Spooky incidents lurk in the shadows. So awesome, right? If you click on this, it even did it for the modal inside. So I mean, really it's up to your imagination what you want to do with this. You can have fun with it, you can do crazy things like this. While we're over here, we haven't talked about the code tab. So you can see all the code. Again, if you're pro code, you can click this edit button, come in here, you can make changes and save it back as a new iteration. So at this point, you are in full control of the code in this app. The other thing that you have, I'm not going to do that now just because some of this took a little bit longer. Compare. So this is a nice diffing feature. So as you're making iterations and the agent is adding code or making changes, you can see exactly what changes it made. And we want to be fully transparent with you so you can track everything the agent is doing. And so you can use this to see if it made a change that you didn't like and handle it that way. All right, I think that is all of my demo real quick. I am going to go back and just make sure I have slides, so when you guys get the slides afterwards, all the stuff that I talked through in the demo will also be in slides. But just make sure we handle everything. In-app navigation, so the agent does know how to navigate into the model-driven app. So if you want it to go to a record or go to a view, it will do that if you just ask it to. ALM is built in now. It wasn't early in preview, but ALM is there. I believe, Africa, you tried this earlier today. Basically, you're going to add the app with these gen pages to a solution. The dependency check will bring in the sitemap, and that will bring in all the gen pages, and then you can do what you want with the solution from there. We are built on the PCF framework, so everything is the same from a security standpoint as that. And then the one thing that I didn't show you in the chat experience, every time you do an iteration, there's thumbs up, thumbs down controls that you can send us feedback. So that's very useful for us. If something goes wrong, you can hit a little, there's a little box to say send additional files. That will send us the errors, a screenshot of where you ran into an issue, your prompts, so that we can actually try to recreate that and fix issues for you. So there we go. That's kind of a quick recap of gen pages. So now that we've kind of given you that framework of setting the foundation, iterating, now I want to turn it over to Rasika and Reza to talk about how another way to help you get started with the Intelligent Apps Catalog.
Thank you, Jason. So what Jason shared is gen pages, what it does, how it works, which is all awesome. One key point that Jason also mentioned was imaginative, creative, fast, flexible. The PowerCat team has been at Gen Pages over the course of the last month and a half, building solutions on top of Gen Pages. And one of the things we've realized is the art of the possible, right? What's possible with Gen Pages? Yes, it's great. Jason put the prompts, he had an idea in his mind, and he started prompting to get to that end result. But what if our makers, our end users, get something that we are calling as the Intelligent Apps Catalog, and that's the home screen of the catalog experience that Rasika is showcasing on screen. Imagine this, where your end users can come to a catalog, which is like a suite of Gen pages that they can explore live. So as you can see, in this catalog we have around 7 to 10 Gen pages. For each of these, as Rasika clicks on them, so let's just say we like a particular Gen page design, let's say the editable grid experience in this scenario, it takes us to another screen that shows an image of the end result of what the outcome would be. But more importantly, it's all about prompting the agent, right? You go step by step. So how about building a prompt catalog so your end users can follow those exact prompts that you bake into this application, which by the way is a Gen page inception, Gen page building Gen pages. So this is a Gen page itself. You can see the image, you can see a list of prompts. We have the option on the top left for you to save the image, so you can download it and give it as a reference, exactly what Jason did. On the other side, we also have the option for you to copy these prompts to your clipboard and start pasting them into the agent, which will then start driving an output which would be similar to what you're looking at right here. So Rasika, why don't you walk through one Gen page live?
Thank you, Reza, for setting the stage here, and thank you, Jason. You know, some great demos, right? Like, it was super fantastic to see how the Halloween theme showed up, right? Cool. And really, before I start going through the page, I just want to set one statement. I think it really resonated with me, right? Like, when I think about Gen pages, it's not just about what you build, but how creative you could be, right? Like, what's the power of creativity? And that's where we want to empower your creativity with some of these templates, right? So here is an example of an editable grid, right? So this is completely a generative page. I have the ability to switch dark to light mode. If I click on edit mode here, all my columns are now rows converted into an editable grid. I can go ahead, add some projects, certain details there. I can change the task from status, not started, to in progress. I have the ability to bulk update those changes, right? That's just one example. Let's think about, let's explore this catalog a little bit more, right? So if I go to the next page, and let's talk about some of the dashboards, right? Like, when we touch base a little bit on that, like, people can build some really interesting charts and catalogs and dashboards with our Gen pages. Reza, you want to touch base on that?
So what Rasika shared earlier was a editable grid experience, very common. Everybody loves Excel, right? We want an editable grid. Has anyone tried an editable grid in a Canvas app? Anyone? How long on an average to build something like that? We are still building it. Okay. Yeah, we're talking about easily, like, if you're a newbie, I would say easily weeks, to days, to hours, to forever. So it depends, right? And here we were able to build it literally with 3, 4, 5 prompts. On the other side here, again, pointing to what Jason mentioned, right? Again, it's not replacing Power BI as such, but you have the option to create visualizations here as well. So this is a great example of the D3 library being leveraged to create charts. So it's actually the same data set for the editable grid, project and task management solution. Projects have tasks. So here we have a dashboard experience that's once again pulling information from those same backend tables, and your end users have an experience that looks like this. Pretty cool. You can add animations, it can be interactive, so you can filter, deep dive, and a lot more.
Perfect. And when we say that we want to empower creativity, why should it limit to only enterprise-based solutions? Why can't we take that creative liberty, right? And here is another example of how a quiz app could look like. And we took a liberty of adding some familiar theme to this, right? So here is my quiz app. If I click on one of these sections, here is a list of all the questions that I get. It starts the timer, so it tracks how long do I take to respond. It tracks whether I'm responding correctly or not. It also tracks if I can make X number of attempts to try this out. So everyone in your organization, like you would be using some training, some quizzes, so you have that creative liberty now to give those very interactive user interfaces, right? So now that we have gotten into what this catalog does, let's do a little bit deep dive into seeing how to use this catalog. And again, a lot of similar experiences that we have already shown in the past, but let's do a quick check here, okay? So here is a screen, and I have a solution, an Operation Task Manager solution, and I would want to build a list of projects, and select any of these projects, I want to show some related tasks to it. Now I also want to make sure that as I give these prompts, the agent is able to use my image as a wireframe or a reference. So let me go ahead and download this image right here. As I go into describe a page, and we have already seen how we'll end it up here. As you launch your model-driven app, create a new page, it asks you to describe a page for you. Now while my app agent is loading, in this tool you see a series of prompts, the first one being the starter prompt. So this is where I'm going to start, followed by the series of copy. Now you see the tool gives you the liberty to just copy to the clipboard, and as we go back to our solution, we'll see in a minute when the agent loads.
You can try that again.
Let me try that. So generative page 2.
If it doesn't work, refresh.
It's perfect. So as this page loads, right, we'll just see how we are going to use the catalog. But while this agent is loading, let's also talk about why we need to use the catalog. Okay.
So while we wait for the agent to load, so the whole idea here is, as I mentioned earlier, right? You want to give your end users the flexibility to see what can be built. It's all about the art of the possible. And by the way, we'll show a bit later, but the catalog itself is completely customizable, right? The 7 to 8 pages that we've created, as your end users start creating more things on the platform, like Jason built out the spooky app. If you like that, we can add that experience to the catalog as well. It's simply a model-driven app at the back end with tables to enter prompts, enter your images, enter your metadata, and within seconds it will be live in that application for your end users to take advantage of.
So here we go. So the tool is up now. So I go to my intelligent app catalog and I copy my first prompt here. I go to my agent, place my prompt. I want to give it a starter reference image. So I go ahead and select my modern hierarchical list and attach some data to refer to as it builds. So once I've done that, I can just go ahead and click on generate and let the agent do the magic, right? And now we'll see, right, like as we build on these prompts, how fast this agent would build the code for us and how easy it is to reiterate the prompts. The idea is that if you are building something creative, something complex, and it took you maybe a few hours, I won't even get 2 days by the way. So if it is taking you a few hours to get something very complex, don't hide your creativity, right? Share it with your organization. And this catalog gets you that placeholder to share your creativity, to share what you learned, the prompts that you use to build something like this, right? So here is an example. So in here, I have my projects, and once I expand on it, I will be able to see the demo.
Which is fine. So iterative, right? It may not work on the first attempt. We retry. It's an agent, it's Gen AI, it may not produce the exact same output as what we pitched in the catalog. So if it doesn't, we can retry, we have the option to undo, or as Jason mentioned, you can even manually edit the code. Now think about this, as part of the catalog, you can always add additional components to it. If you find code snippets that are very useful, that you want to provide to your end users so they can plug it in their Gen pages, that is also a possibility that you can do within the catalog. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Very good point. So the point Chris is making here is, even if you end up with an error, if you don't, let's say you're not a pro coder, and you've hit a roadblock, right, where the agent has done something and it says there's an error, two options, right? One is to undo, or as Chris says, you can even take a picture of that error, you can take a screenshot. We have an option to take a screenshot. You can put it right in there and say, hey agent, I'm facing this error. It will try and go back, adjust its thoughts, it will tell you what it is doing behind the scenes, and it will try and update the code for you.
Perfect. And as you can see, it took me more than one attempt, but here is my page, right? As I expand a project, I could see associated tasks with it. And because I provided a mock image, it understood that I wanted to highlight my task status or priority with certain color codes, right? And now, as of now, I do not have an ability to edit an action. And that's why, because I have my prompt catalog, I can just go ahead, copy the next step of prompts that I would want to give to my agent, and that's it, right? So it's as easy as copy paste this prompt to try to mock up these UIs for your benefit. And while this agent is generating this page further and enhancing my experience, I want to show you some of the other complex generative pages that we have tried to experiment with this Gen page. This is a Northwind Trader solution. I'm pretty sure all of us would have used it or gone through it once in our lifetime. So this is the new experience of how you think about tracking your orders, right? So this is an orders calendar view. Here is how you can see these orders in dashboards, interactive ones, by the way, right? The modern view, the modern orders view, if you select on it, you see the shipping details. And not only that, let's go to another way. So here is my form creation experience. A catalog of associated products gives you kind of that ability to add products to your cart, increase the number of product quantity you want, delete it, so on and so forth. And as the Weissman said, a Gen page was not built with a single prompt, right? So that's why it's important, as you reiterate, you build, you share your creativity with the others. We have talked a lot about how we are going to use it. There is a quick example of the edit experience as I reiterated through my prompt.
So Rasika, let's quickly show the back end of all of this, right? Which is apart from the catalog that your end users can take advantage of. Of course, you as the admin want to have full control over what goes in the catalog, and for that as well, we have an admin management application. And right here as well, all the information about the catalog goes. So as you can see right here, this is the active prompt catalog view. This is where we added all our prompts. We can add a description. We can relate it with our gen page and provide any other details. It's fully customizable. This will be an unmanaged solution that we will be sharing, so you will have full access to this. You can get creative, extend, add approvals, add any other feature set that you would like to add to our admin center. But this is the idea. It's a simple model app where you add the prompts, add the gen pages, and get all this information into the catalog so your end users can take advantage of it.
Perfect. Just to wind up, a closing thought, right? An app catalog is not just, or intelligent app catalog is not just about generative pages. If you have ever imagined to have a central hub experience to host all your hero applications, this is how you can use Gen Pages with it. In here, I have a Canvas app, a code app, or a model-driven app, all embedded into one single model-driven application page. And now if I go ahead and play any of these applications, as you see, I'm not even getting navigated, not my app is getting launched in a different browser tab. I'm running this application as an embedded in-app experience to either access my Canvas applications or a model-driven applications with a click of a button. So if you have ever imagined an app hub for your organization, you can use Generative Pages to try something with that.
This also, by the way, is one of the samples. So this itself is a gen page that within it, it's kind of iframing those other components so it can launch it. During the conference, I heard a lot of folks talk about we need a hero app. That one landing app where my makers can go and then get routed to other applications. This could be one of those experiences that you can line up for your end users.
And thank you, Reza, and thank you, Jason, for giving us the opportunity to showcase this catalog. With that, I'll pass on the stage back to Jason.
Thank you. So yeah, that's a great tool to help you get started. There's a lot of page templates that you can use to get repeatable page types, and I believe we'll be adding to that in the future, and as Reza mentioned, you all can add to it as well. The great thing about generative pages, as you're starting to see, is that the possibilities truly are endless. And so what we're going to do now, we've kind of gone through some demos. What I want to go through is just kind of a show and tell, a showcase of things that we'll go actually through. In case you haven't been to all the sessions, we'll show you all the complex, polished pages that have been featured in this conference. And then we're going to actually start looking through some pages that you all have already created. The preview community has been at work the last few months, and so I want to show you things that other people have already created as well, again, just to get the creative juices flowing in your mind. And so let's switch back. Oh, I did forget to mention, before when I was demoing, once you publish, this is kind of what the page looks like. And just for fun, because I did this before, this was another one that came up, so a variation with like animated GIFs and stuff. So, pretty cool. All right, we're gonna start back with day one with the keynote. So you all probably saw this on stage. So this was a pretty cool page with an integration to Azure Maps. These two are the ones that are responsible for a good portion of this page. So you can thank them for that, yes. So just in case you didn't see this before, we'll just do a quick thing. We'll zoom in, you get these nice little map things, the grid responds to it, super interactive, super polished, super nice. So that was one. One that you didn't see in the keynote, I'm also going to show the previous version, the V1 of this, the one that went in the keynote, that got cut because it was too long of a page, but it just shows a few other things. Again, similar idea, so you have the cards along the top. This is the D3 map. So what I talked about, the one that's included that you can make work. So it has the same type of thing. You can filter to a state, so we'll come into Florida. we'll click on this, get the same kind of pop-ups. You can get the same type of experiences without even using like the paid-for Azure Maps, so that's pretty cool. If you go down, you can see some nice chart visualizations. Again, these are D3 charts. They do not look like this out of the box if you just do a D3 chart. So every time I did this, I took a screenshot like we did with the card when we did our demo, and I said, hey, this is a nice looking Fluent chart or whatever chart you want to find. Make my chart look like this. And the agent was able to style it and give you the kinds of visuals that you want. So it's super powerful to be able to get complex visualizations like this. You can do even more complex stuff. So I have this chart of customer feedback that we were pulling from an AI that was looking at feedback and was figuring out if it was positive, negative, or neutral. You can drill in and kind of get, a drill down look at what that feedback is and what was positive, what was negative, like what are those themes. And kind of change the page like that. So pretty cool page. Didn't make the keynote, but I thought was cool enough to show here. Another one. How many people went to Leon's session with NASA? You all have seen this? We'll show a couple of these pages again. So here was the command center. So this is kind of an overview of the missions for NASA for this program. So this is a generative page. Again, looks super nice, very polished. We have this calendar page where you can kind of very quickly filter through the missions. I will, pick on different years, different months. You can search by filters, all this other stuff. So this is super nice. And then Leon kind of went off the rails, if you remember his session with his space prompts. He did a single prompt to get this visualization where he made the planets be the size of the number of incidents that were related to each of these things. You can see the moons that are rotating around the planet. If you click on them, it will read out the name of the mission. We'll see if it...
FYTH, 9 source.
Crazy. He did this in one prompt. If you were here, it was insane. It was this long, super complex prompt. One day I hope to be that good at prompt engineering. What else? We'll move. If anyone's here was Tiffany Adrian was here demoing this on Tuesday as well. So this was a nice Kanban board with some nice capabilities. We have this filter pane here, so you can filter down to ages of cases. You get this nice filtered pill, so you would see in very modern applications. We have conditional formatting based on how old the cases are, that you can make them red or yellow to stand out, so you can help flag those. Again, difficult things maybe to do in Canvas apps, or at least takes some time to do. Very easy, it's just a couple of sentences and you can get this kind of stuff out in Gen Pages. You click on one of these, you get a nice overview. Again, I mentioned before, you get links back into the app, so you want to go look at this actual claim record on the form or the person that's insured. So all that stuff works. And so, one more, let me switch over. This one wasn't in the conference, but this is also Chris Von Kao. He did this. This is a dog fooding app in Microsoft to pick your NFL game for those sports fans out there. So he built this. This is also one prompt. So what this does is it uses a web API to go out to ESPN and pull the games every week. That comes with the game times, these logos, and you can go through as yourself and you pick. And so you pick who's going to win those games, and then there's a standing board in here, and so there's going to be prizes at the end of the season. So another cool little application for Gen Pages. He also did this, another one using the same type of thing. He pulled, it is the last page in this one. Oh yeah, you're right. News. So, similar thing. Doesn't even connect to Dataverse tables. It just pulls news articles from ESPN and shows them here. So, again, there are lots of things that you can do. And so with that, actually let me switch back and we'll do a showcase of pages from the community. All right, so again, these are from preview customers. Some of them are in the audience with us today. So this was a page that was created. Again, there's no data in here. He just kind of did that first step where he laid the foundation, started getting things in place for a really nice dark mode dashboard. This is Angel Hernandez. He told me he has over 150 generative pages already, and so a lot of the samples that we're going to see are from him. He's been doing a lot of stuff. This marketing analysis is kind of a dashboard type page, very modern visualization. We'll just kind of loop through these pretty quickly. Again, very modern form. And I'll also start putting in some quotes that we've been getting from preview. So someone said in 15 minutes of work, I added something valuable to my app that would have been way more limited if integrated into a traditional model-driven app form page. Here is a Gantt chart. So James Connolly that you saw before in the video, this is his Gantt chart that he built with generative pages in dark mode with all these hovers and these nice dialogues that come out. So again, very nice stuff that you can build. Nate, in the audience with us, yeah, right here. He built this, tried to recreate SQL Management Studio as a generative page. So, yes. Yes, so this goes against the contact table. You can write your SQL statement. It will return results, give you some messaging on the execution time. There's even a visual builder that he made in this. So go crazy with this. This is awesome. This one, so a company that works across different time zones, different companies, built this little clock visual where they can look at different time zones and just kind of help themselves see when their coworkers, what time it is in where they're working at. So again, not super difficult, but actually really nice visual and just a simple application you could use this for. Angel also did this password generator. No longer do you have to go out to the web and find one. He's built his own as a generative page. And then the last two, also Angel, again, he's given me so many of these. So their organization does, they're a partner, so they do Power Platform work. So this is the intake page, landing page that they're actually going to take to production as soon as we GA. So this is going to be used by them. Pretty nice dashboard. And then also one that's going to go live pretty soon is this FAQ. So again, lots of variations, lots of use cases, very different visually. The sky is really the limit as to what you think you can build with this technology. And so with that, we're going to start to wind up. And so what we're going to do is go through a set of the top 10 tips and tricks, learnings that we've had through the preview process as we've been building these ourselves and we've been working with the community to build these. And so these I hope will help you build pages after you leave this session. So we'll just start from the top. So the first little tip, not everyone is an expert at prompt writing. I am not an expert at prompt writing. So one tip that you can use, write your prompt, take it to Copilot, tell it to optimize it for you. It will help to round out your requirements. It'll help structure it in a way that the agent may understand a little bit better, and you tend to get a little bit better results if you do that. So that's tip number one. Tip number two, and again, hopefully a lot of these we talked about as we did the demo earlier, but lock in your foundation first. As we said, get your page structure, your general layout done first, make sure that is where you want it, and then start building on top of that. It's a nice way to, it's a nice methodical way to get to a good end result. Tip number three, match your prompt specificity to your goal. And so what do I mean by this? If you know exactly what you want to build, be as detailed as you can be with your prompt. That will give the agent less room for changing things up and will get you closer to what you want. On the other hand, if you're wanting to explore and you just want a general idea, make your prompt vague. That will give the AI some level of creativity where it can come up with what kinds of things it thinks should go in that page. And so basically, wherever you are on that scale, you can tweak your prompt to meet that. That's also the same thing, not just for the prompt itself, but for the images that you give. So when you attach an image, it doesn't have to be a high-res Figma file. You can give it a napkin drawing, a whiteboard drawing, something vague to kind of guide it in the right direction. Or you can go the far opposite side and say, I want it to look exactly like this. So kind of what your goals are determines how specific you put, refine with small targeted changes. We talked about this as well, right? We laid the foundation, and then we started filling in small targeted chunks. This is going to be your best way to get to a good result. It's not the only way. So we know we've seen some pages. Leon did some, Chris did some, where you just have one massive prompt. That does work, but this is a good way to get started to make sure that you get to a good result. Man, why does that keep doing that? Yeah. Number 5, add code snippets. I think Reza mentioned this. If the agent's not getting something quite right, and you do know some code, you can give it a little snippet to help it out. We had a preview customer that was doing a video gallery, and so it wasn't quite getting the embed of the video was just right. So they put in a little set of code, and the agent picked that up, figured it out, and did the page correctly. So you can help out the agent whenever it doesn't, whenever it's having some issues. Number 6. This is something, so reinforce with don't change other things. So we do have in the system prompt instructions to say only mess with the stuff that you ask for, but it's an LLM, so it doesn't always do what you want. But we've gotten feedback that if you put this in at the end of your prompt, it actually does help it stay on track a little bit better. So try this out if it's like going off the rails a little bit and changing other things. Try adding this to the end of your prompt. Number 7, fail fast and restart. So in general, if you get an iteration and it doesn't go in a good direction, my recommendation is to just undo and go back. It's easier because these iterations are so fast, right? It's 30, 40 seconds. It's easier for the agent to take another shot at it than for you to try to fix the agent once it's gone the wrong direction. So undo if it's a later iteration, restart if it's the first one, and give it another go. Number 8, try your prompt multiple times. As we saw, like sometimes it fails. There's a little bit of variation every time that you do this. So if you do it 3 or 4 or 5 times, one of those is going to be the best ones, and you can start from there and keep going. So that's just something that we found that kind of works out well. Number 9, if you're doing new scenarios and you don't have tables, use plans, right? Use the plan designer to get your table, to get your data schema, to get your sample data in place to help you build this out and make sure that the page works the way you expect. You saw James did that. That's how he seeded our demo today, was he used the plan designer. And then the last one, use images for visual alignment. The agent does a really good job if you give it an image. I mean, it doesn't have to be an image of the full page, right? As you saw we did in the demo, give it an image of the card that you want. Give it an image of the chart. Be specific. I've also had people say that they will take a screenshot and they'll circle the area that they want the agent to focus on, or they'll draw an arrow. All of those things work. The agent will pick up on that and will direct will target its changes towards that kind of stuff. All right, so that's my top 10. So with that, we'll come back to generative pages. So just to give you a quick whirlwind of this feature, we started it earlier this year. It was announced at Build, so in May, at the end of May, in private preview. And so that's when the private preview group started up. A lot of the people that were in the pages that you saw joined that. In July, so a couple months later, we transitioned to public preview. And I'm happy to announce that today, this feature is Again, it's still US only. We're going to expand soon. If you notice, I don't know if you noticed, maybe some of the preview people, there were no preview tags as we were going through the demos today. So it's already been removed. It is GA, it is live. All right. And so with that, we're going to close it out just with the statement that go try it. You can go use it in production now. We've given you the tools, hopefully, to build great pages. We've given you a lot of samples to think about what you can do. Just go out and have fun. Thank you so much. If you have questions, we will be up here to answer them. I don't think we have much time for questions